Good morning, everybody. I hope you're all well. Nice to see new faces. Hello, Nyash. I'm Eva. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Yeah, I can see a few people from the office. Laila, welcome. Esther, Grace, thank you. So our topic today is Rising Together for Our Health and Wealth in 2022. Which I think is a very important topic. And I'll just go through the pictures just to have a think of what, just to highlight more on what we think about this topic. So health is the greatest gift, contentment, the greatest wealth, faithfulness is the best relationship. And that's by Buddha. Interesting what you think about that. The next one there is about how you get an idea, you plan, action, but with that you need collaboration from the different partners, and I think we can all agree that's really important. As much as we have a great idea, you might need to reach out to somebody or a group or an organization to help realize it. And the greatest wealth is health. I think without your health, you're limited to what you can do. We rely on our bodies to do so much. I rely on my mouth to be able to communicate here. So health is really, I kind of quite resonate with that. My greatest wealth is health. And that's, for me, I think that speaks volume for everybody. And I think we have also the last picture there. We have somebody who, in a lovely sunset, but somebody's pulling the other up and always give a helping hand. So I think in all these pictures, it's all about rising together for our health and wealth, and coming in to see how we can better improve this as a community, as an individual, and in our small interactions as we go along. As we wait for people to come in, I wonder whether anybody wanted to say anything about what resonates about the pictures on the screen for them or for their community, or what they think or what really resonates with them. So you can either raise your hand, I can see you, or you can use the reaction icons or emojis at the bottom. I can see a few people are getting in as we continue. Welcome, Safe.
Hi, Eva, you okay?
I'm all right. Okay, so I think we've just gone through the pictures and everybody is okay with it. So I think we'll proceed and go to the polls then, if that's okay, Cicely, as we wait for everybody else.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Okay. So just get the correct polls put together. So I'll just explain for the new people who are on the call. So normally we'd pick a topic and then we'll have a discussion and see what people's thoughts are about the topic we have at hand. And to aid the conversations, we normally have polls, and this consists of a couple of questions. And all you have to do is fill out what best you think the answer resonates with you. So our topic today is working together and rising stronger for our health and wealth in 2022 in January. The first question we have, in building our resilience, both individually and collectively, how important is it to work well together with each other as well as with the mainstream services? And the second question, how well as communities do we work well with each other as well as the mainstream services? I hope everybody can see my polls. You see my polls? Can you see them here? Thank you. Thank you, Saif, and thank you, Nishar. Yeah, I'll give you a few minutes just to answer the questions, to let us know what you think about the questions on the screen. I can see Charles. Welcome, Charles. We're just going through the polls. So just got us when we've just started the topic. So if we answered on the polls, that would be appreciated. I can see 3 people have done the polls. Just gonna admit somebody as well. I hope the sun is shining where you all are. Mine is nice and bright, but it's freezing cold. Good morning, Alice. Welcome.
Good morning.
Morning. We're just doing the polls. We've got the questions up, so feel free to fill in the polls.
Thank you.
Just give a few more minutes to the people who've joined. Get some more people coming in so we can have a good conversation about what we think about this topic today. Good morning, Emeka.
Morning.
Welcome. We're just doing the polls on your screen, so feel free to put in your thoughts.
Okay, let's have a look.
Maybe as we wait for that, Save used to do our polls before. Good morning, Save. Oh, I don't know whether it's still on the call. But... Okay, so give it another. Thank you, Safe. So I'll give it another few minutes and then I'll end the poll and then we'll start the conversation. And I think whoever joins in, then they can pick up from where we are. I can see we've got 11 participants. I'll just have a quick look. Okay, just one more minute and then. Should be done. Okay, so thank you for participating in that. I'm just going to end the polls now and share the results. Okay. I think you can all see the results from my screen. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So in this topic, we're just looking, as I said again, it's about building resilience. And I just thought, what is actually resilience? And I looked up at the quick definition, and the basic way we can sort of describe resilience is how we adopt or how we bounce back when things don't go as planned. And I really want to welcome your views on question 1. So in building our resilience, both individually and collectively, how important is it to work well together with each other, as well as the mainstream services? So I see people, 6 out of 7 people said 100%, 86%, one person said 14%, nobody said 0%, which is good. And I just wanted to find out what your thoughts are and why you answered what answer you gave. Feel free to raise your hand or use the, if you raise your hand or wave it, I can see it, and then we can start off the conversation as to what your thoughts are on question 1. Sorry, Nisha, are you talking? I think you're muted.
Sorry, I was just reading the question to
right.
yourself. But no, it is important, because otherwise, how can you expect to reach all the end goals and get the best results if no one's working together in the best possible way?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So the power of collaboration is really, really important. Finding the people who can help you. Good morning, Yvonne. Welcome. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Anybody else want to share their thoughts as well?
Can I come in, Eva?
Yes, thank you, Esther.
What just came into my mind is no man is an island, and we all need each other at different levels. And of course, it goes to say mainstream services. Mainstream services cannot just work in isolation and the community. We have to work together to identify what are the needs, what are the gaps, and we work together to kind of fill those gaps. I know from experience, something that has not worked very well is the way community has not been appreciated, its contribution, how it has not been valued, and how it has not been recognized. But even research has shown that the community is the best entity that knows what the challenges are and also knows the solutions. And so working together individually and collectively, I think is a positive way forward to kind of address the challenges that are among us. And by doing that, then we grow stronger, we cope, and we navigate through those challenges. Thank you.
Thank you, Esther. Yeah, definitely. Collectively, individually, we have to try and navigate those challenges. I can see Layla has her hand up.
Hi, it's me, Alex. Me
Oh,
and
hi,
Layla
Alex.
sat next to each other. Yeah, I was thinking about that question. It's really important to get support from your friends and family, but there are some things that require, professional help. And I assume that's what you mean by mainstream, like NHS or therapy and things like that, like official services. Yeah, there are some things that, require those services, but having a support network is, it's the most valuable thing. But, every once in a while you do need a professional to help you.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that. Yeah, definitely. Your immediate support network does play a role. And then again, sometimes our network needs to broaden up a bit and involve other services, as you said, with the NHS, with the bodies that can give you the professional help that is required, definitely. And all this has to come together to improve ourselves individually or collectively. Yeah, definitely. Thank you for that, Alex. Anybody else who wants to pitch in on number one? If not, question one rather.
Sorry, I just wanted to add in as well that sometimes we are our own network, and we have to remember that as well. Not everyone has people outside of themselves, so you have to be able to come into yourself, get to know yourself, and know what you need, and try to be able to find what's out there.
Yeah, yes, definitely, because that also, in knowing yourself, is very, very important. Then you know what limits you can go and how you can help yourself, which is really self-awareness is definitely key. I agree with that. I can see Emeka, you've got your hand up, and Layla again after that, if that's still the same hand.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that when it comes to building resilience, and I definitely agree with person from My Voice in Power saying that it starts with you, and it starts with and then it grows. So for example, like in my experience, I had my family around me, but it had to come from me to even reach out to my family for help. And then once I found the confidence and the benefits of actually doing that, then I could have the confidence to reach out to mainstream services, to actually to have trust in actually seeing the benefits of their help. So I think it's important to build trust within yourself.
Yeah.
That will then carry forward into the experience you may have with mainstream services.
Yeah, definitely. Totally. Yeah, totally agree with what you said. It's about there is a quote. Well, there's something I saw, but when I was looking up resilience, and there's this guy called Thomas Edison who created a light bulb, and he failed so many times. And I like how he said that I've not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. And I thought, when you're getting to know about yourself, that's how we should look at it. And totally, it gives you the confidence of maybe I can do it better. I can get it better. So yeah. So thank you for your contributions. I think we'll move on to the second question. And again, I welcome your views on this. So how well as communities, I'll start again. How well as communities do well, I think, how well do communities work with each other as well as with the mainstream services? Either I'm not reading that correct, or I need to help put that properly. So, but how well as communities do we work together, and how well do we actually also work with the mainstream services? So I see nobody said 100%. I can see 50 people said 50% well, and then people also mentioned 10% well. So I just wanted to know, what are people's thoughts on this? And why they answered what they answered.
I think it depends where you live and what type of community you have.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes in some areas you have the community working well together. And then in other areas you have the mainstream services working well for individuals within the community, but there's a gap. And that gap needs to be like bridged over. But the trouble with some of the mainstream services is there isn't either the time, the funding, and without the time, you can't give the understanding, which is what the community needs in order to get what they need.
Yeah, totally. It's very different from different areas where you live. Yeah, I agree.
Might contribute a little bit on that.
Yeah.
Not sure if you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you, Charles.
Yeah, I totally agree that it differs from community to community. By the way, I put 10% on mine.
Okay.
No, I actually put 50% and then I changed it. I put it down to 10%. Reason being, I felt saying 50% is way too high based on what could potentially be achieved by collaboration amongst ourselves as communities and the mainstream services, and I don't think we've done enough. I think we've only just scraped the surface at the moment in terms of what we could achieve when we come together. Mm-hmm. And therefore, I thought, 50% is me being too generous. But where do I come from? The thing is, I think there is so much that could be achieved by us having conversations like the ones we're having at the moment. And I think sometimes we really underestimate the power of talking. I hope I'll get a few minutes later on to talk about the power of talking. But I think there is so much that we could achieve by just coming together and raise our voices on what the needs of our communities are, and not just the needs of our communities, but just talking about what changes we want to see in the communities that we live in. And really keep that conversation going to a point that the statutory bodies cannot cannot ignore, because there is always this sentiment that that the statutory bodies are not listening. And to some extent, you could say, yes, maybe there is a bit of element of truth in that. But sometimes if they're not listening, it's because we're not shouting loud enough. Or that we are trying, but there are other voices that are louder than ours to them, and therefore they pay more attention to that. So at the end of the day, it comes back to how much can we raise these conversations and how much can we really make a difference in that way. And I don't think we're doing enough in that respect. I'm not necessarily speaking about this group in particular, but I'm talking about generally as communities. I think there is a lot more that we could achieve if we actually do more in galvanizing our communities to have conversations that matter to our development.
Yeah, I totally, yes, I agree.
So in response to that, I think it's not necessarily, I know it was like a metaphorical way you were saying it about shouting, but it's not down to how loud you're shouting, it's about how well you can articulate your message for it to fall on the right ears, for you to get what you need. So like the choice I made that because I've had more help from mainstream services than I have from any family member that should have been there for me in the way that they should have been, but weren't. And for me, in comparison to other situations with people I know, I articulate, they shout. Who's had the help? I have, they haven't.
So the strongest things that we have is articulation, how you say it, and how you say it as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that does give you different outcomes of what you have. I can see James has his hand up.
Yes, I think I totally agree with the last speaker. I think somehow as people, we tend to be very careful about how we articulate our issues. And we tend to be very hesitant in terms of articulating it the way we should. We tend to be very selective in terms of having the fact that nothing is going to happen, even if we are to articulate. But I think we can hear from her a very typical example of how much you can achieve if you articulate. And if you're very specific, if you know your difficulties, you understand what is happening to you, it's really not about generalizing, it happened to A, so it can happen to me. No, we need to understand what's happening to you. How does it mean to you to be in distress? What is it? How is it impacting on you? Sometimes we forget those little elements in terms of the impact on us, and being aware of your trigger factors, and also you focus, like Emeka said, you need to focus on what you want to achieve, because professionals or even family members, they don't know much of what is going through your mind. They don't know what you actually experience. And even when you have pain sitting next to your mom or your partner, they really don't know what that pain is. Only you can tell whether it's 0 or 10% or 100% in terms of the intensity, the degree, or the impact. So it's really important for us to begin to understand ourselves, in terms of who are we, how do I manage pain, how does it mean to me? It might be different from how your siblings manage their own pain. So it's really important to bear that in mind. Are you focused? Do you know what is happening to you? Do you know what to achieve? Even if you were to go to your GP, are you going to influence? Do you have an agenda? Or are you just going to follow the agenda the GP is going to develop because they have 10 minutes? Their agenda is going to focus on their time. So it's really important to bear that in mind. I think we have a lot of scope to do these things. I just want to put that in, Eva.
Thank you for that, James. Thank you. Yeah, and I totally agree with what you're saying. The other thing I was going to pose was in terms of how communities work well with each other. I just think with the rising of the pandemic, I've gotten to know so many communities via online connections. I feel like they were very, very scattered everywhere. And online, you are able to see, okay, let's do this meeting, or there's this organization. I've gotten to know there's so many other communities that do different things, or community organizations. Also, mainstream services have come in and given us our talks online. And I don't know whether you people have anyone has felt that maybe with the pandemic and online sessions, it has opened your horizons to different communities that you didn't know. A good example was, I think we've started working really well with the University of Reading, ACA, we've worked very well with Charles. And I think if everybody was meeting in a corner of their room of every weekend and different weekend, it would make it really hard. But I feel like the online sessions has kind of brought people together and given them the space to interact in things in the comfort of their home. And at least it has made communities start to work a little bit more in fusion. I just want to hear what anybody's thoughts are on that.
I think it's more about making yourself known. If you haven't made yourself known, then you wouldn't be noticed. No one can know that you're there. So all of these things that take place on Zoom now, that was still through people making themselves known, because you have to be known in order for people to connect with you, regardless of whether it's online or in person. I just feel like now the thing with all the online thing, yeah, it's great, but also you need that connectivity with other people, and it's good to go somewhere where you can, you know, communicate or have a release and then come back, so that your home is still your comfort place, your place where you can release and let things go, rather than it being the place for everything.
Yeah, yes, yeah, I can, yeah, definitely. I can see Cicely has her hand up.
Yes, I have. It's purely because of that point on, you know, as communities, how well do we work together? And I like the fact that we are appreciating the need to really understand and know what we want. But often we hear people really make a lot of noise that we are not very good at working together, especially the grassroots communities. And it would be nice to hear more about that, because you know, it is obvious that the more we work together, the more we achieve, especially in matters of well-being. But as communities, we are known not to be, you know, that good in working closely together. Why is it? Is it a myth or is it a fact?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. Is it a myth? But also, my voice in power actually raised a thing is, how well are you known out there? You know, I think that's something you were saying about if people are not known, how do they get known? Charles, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I wanted to contribute a little bit on that. I think the use of technology has helped in some sense, like you said earlier, especially during the pandemic. I mean, I'm a classic example of that. We've been doing seminars on personal development matters and raising conversations in our communities for quite a few years. But before pandemic, we were actually doing physical meetings, and our scope and our range of people that we could actually impact was very limited because of that. But then came the pandemic, we started doing the meetings online and through Zoom, and now we're reaching people from all corners of the world, not let alone just the UK, which is quite amazing. So it has helped in the sense that we can engage people that it will be difficult to engage with otherwise. Is that the way to go? In some ways, yes, but I'll also agree with the lady. I didn't catch her name, but my voice in power.
Sorry, my name's Nyasha.
Dayasha, yeah.
Nyasha, yeah.
Thanks, Dasha. So I totally agree with that. That there is still needs as humans. We do need that contact, that personal touch, where you do actually have a relationship. Because I think when you talk about communities, there is an element of relationship, and sometimes the virtual direction that the world is taking at the moment may give us a false sense of security that we do have those relationships. But as we've learned about social media, you don't create relationships virtually. So there is that caution in that sense. But I think there is the way that these technology can really help bringing different communities together. That like whatever you were saying earlier, that different there is so much as you have communities working individually as isolated communities, but then there is a need to kind of bring these communities together on matters that they do share, because we have to agree that we don't share everything. And that's why you have these separate factions. But then on matters that we do share, we need a way and space where we can bring them together. That's what I just want to say.
Yeah, thank you, Charles, for that. Yeah, Emeka, I can see your hand raised up.
Yeah, I was just going to say that like there has to be a combination of online and offline engagement to really maximize the effect that communities can have through working together. It's not like, and also going back to like networks, having people that you know, whether it's through personal connections or professional connections, if you've worked with mainstream services, so that they can point you in the right direction, and having people that, like, for example, when I came out of hospital, this is going back maybe 6 years ago now, I was fortunate enough to go to the recovery college at the time. I recognized Cecily was there, working there at the time, and it gave me a sense of, oh, it could, like, if I can, a sense of encouragement that I can contribute when I'm ready to feed back into my community, so that I can actually help people with whatever they're facing. So the long and short of it really is having a good network of people that you can actually feed into, but also having the confidence to know that, like, it's with you as well. And yeah, so that's just something. But I do think that it's not a myth as it seems. But there is room on both sides to improve on that.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, there is room to improve. Absolutely. And by having these conversations, so we can try and bridge the gap and improve on them. Welcome everybody who's joining. We're just on question 2. The question is just, how well do communities work with each other and work with the mainstream services? Thank you for that, Emeka. I don't know if anybody wanted to come in and share your thoughts, also just generally also about the topic if you want to, before I get our main speaker to give us a few thoughts.
I see Yvonne's hand up.
Oh, yes. Hello, Yvonne, sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. I didn't want to just jump in. Good morning, everybody. Lovely to see that we're still going on the ACRE. And ACRE, as far as I knew it, had started way before the Zoom meetings when it took place. I went to 2 or 3 of the meetings within the hall, and I'm pleased to say the same ambience, it still finds itself into the Zoom meetings. So for me, it was quite a smooth transition, very different, but at the same time still provided what was needed within our living room. So for me, the Zoom meetings, particularly with ACRE, every week for the last 2 years, has broken down barriers. People know about the meetings, and again, in answer to the question, the communication is much more needed. We need people to communicate and work more together. because as it is with African and Caribbean groups and different units and different businesses, there is so much out there. I really struggle each month to bring out the newspaper because there is so much going on out there. And I still am not covering all of what is happening. So as a community, we have a lot to offer, but the barriers have to be broken down in respect of Zoom meetings, attending in groups, which I know that there's 2 elder groups for our senior citizens in Reading. Those are really well attended. And that's only a fraction of the people that, you know, little groups that know, and they spread the news so far of these groups. So again, I feel that the breaking down of the communication in getting the message across about all of the groups that are available, we will have a better and healthier community, if you like, because I heard the young lady saying about she wasn't able to access the needs that she needed. On the website, I have a lot of information about the emergency services that you can just pick your phone up and somebody will be there to attend to what is needed concerning your health and other areas. So sorry to talk on, but you know, I just feel it's a big issue. I've noticed how it was grafted, so I can see that there lacks confidence within the community of the community connecting together. So Reading Caribbean Express is that key. We have groups, we have communication, we have a common ground, and more than anything, we have a belonging within this newspaper. And I know that there's other African newspapers going on as well, other radio stations. People don't know, they have a choice. Within our community, and our culture, we actually have a choice as to where we can go and access all of these needs. Thank you for listening. I just thought I'd step in.
Thank you, Vaughn, and for making us know what's out there, because that's usually a really good resource. Thank you. And I think now that you said you've got so many things happening and you can't capture all of them, please send them some my way.
I will do. Yes, definitely. I'll put my details in the chat so everybody can contact me. We do have a subscription on the website. The website is kept up daily, not only with just news from Reading, but Black businesses, the arts, what's going on. We got a new documentary out by the Black cop and what he had to endure within the Metropolitan Police. These are all things that are out there that we can use and enjoy.
Thank you very much, Pauline. Thank you. So any other thoughts? I've seen Reverend Paulie, you're in the house, welcome. I'll get you to give us a few minutes of your time and tell us something. But I think if we have no thoughts, pointers from anybody else, I'll get Charles to give us a snippet of the whole topic. And then after that, I'll get Reverend Paulie to give us a short message.
Is that my cue right there?
Yes, it is.
Right. Okay. Thanks, Eva. My name is Charles Stephen. For those who don't know me, I'm a co-host of Lifetime Success Seminars. We do conversations like the one Cecily is doing. We do it every fortnight on Saturdays. We've got one actually this Saturday coming. We raise conversations to do with personal development, so anything to do with people's mental health, physical fitness, finance, business, relationships, you name it, lifestyle, anything. We raise all these positive conversations that normally are not had or not had enough, I would say, in our communities, and therefore it's a space where people can really talk about things that matter to them and that could enrich their lives, and so and that's a little bit about myself. Cecily asked me to speak for a couple of minutes about the importance of having conversations and talking and working in collaboration. And I'll spend only a few minutes focusing the conversation on the element of talking. because since we started, we've been talking about the importance of working together in collaboration. I'm sure for the next hour or so, that's going to be the main focus of the conversation. But I just wanted to speak a little bit about talking and the power of talking. There is this phrase, this saying that we're so used to hearing when someone says, "Oh, that's just talk," or don't talk the talk, walk the walk, or something in that line. Which I get what it means. It means that sometimes we say things we don't actually mean, and therefore it means that whatever it is that we've said really doesn't hold any weight for that matter. But the downside to those kind of phrases is that it creates an impression that talking is not important. And you may think that, what's the point of just sitting here for an hour and a half and just talk? What are we going to possibly achieve? A bunch of 15 people sitting down talking over Zoom for an hour and a half. It's not going to achieve anything. It's just talk. But I just wanted to paint a slightly different picture of why talking is so important. And I'm not over exaggerating this a bit. In fact, I cannot stress enough how talking is so important to mankind in general. I mean, imagine if we couldn't talk. Imagine if all our thoughts were locked in our minds and there is no way in us communicating one to another. Imagine what men would have achieved to date if we couldn't share our ideas across, whether that be through talking, through expression, through writing books, through anything. I don't think we would have been anywhere near where we are as a people, as a race. I mean, I think probably we've been closer to animals than anything. There is so much power in our ability to talk, to communicate, to share ideas, to share our thoughts. I have this saying that goes that conversation is a gateway to human mind, and it doesn't get more intimate than that. That ability that I can share what's going on in my mind, what I think, a bit of a piece of myself, what I am, my values, my thoughts, my expectations, what I think of the future, what I think of the past, what I think of you. That's what talking is all about. And we sometimes underestimate how important that is. And so I just wanted to just throw that out there. And coming back to the point of not talking the talk, but walking the walk. I just want to say, even when it talks about, yes, I know that action is important, and at the end of the day, you want something to be done. But if you look back, you cannot have action unless there is a talk before that. It always starts with conversation. I mean, everything that has been achieved in this world started with a conversation. Everything, good or bad, it started with a conversation. Whether that be in politics, whether that be in science. Eva mentioned before about Thomas Edison and his invention of the bulb. Yes, we may credit that to him, that he's the one that invented the fluorescent bulb, but surely he didn't do it on his own. I mean, if you look at science in itself, it's people building thoughts and ideas on top of each other over decades, over centuries even. And therefore it's because people share ideas, they talk. Sometimes we brand them as madmen when they talk because they don't see sense in what they're saying. But just because they brought those ideas out there, someone down the line will pick up on those ideas and work on them, and it will make a difference. I mean, it's the same with the conversations we have here. We may sit here for an hour and a half and think that we were just venting out our frustrations, our fears, things that don't go well with us. What difference is that going to make? But talking is cumulative. It builds. It's these thoughts and ideas, they build on top of each other. So we may talk about it today, and we may invite, say, someone from statutory body or from mainstream services. And yes, in isolation, that one session may not make such a big impact. But then if you have one session each week for 2 years, like what Cecily has done over Zoom, there is certainly a huge impact. And it builds like that. That's what conversations do. That's what talk does. And so I just want to encourage that it's important to keep talking. It's important to keep engaging the communities with conversations, even when you think that you're just throwing a needle in a haystack. But it does accumulate over time. It doesn't get lost. It doesn't get wasted. And so that's what I just wanted to raise. So very quickly, I just wanted to talk through 4 points why talking is really important. I'll just mention them and highlight them really quickly. then I'll submit the meeting back to Eva. First thing that what talking does in conversation do is that it strengthens communities, it strengthens relationships, and that goes personally, that goes in communities like this. Say, imagine if you're trying to find yourself a life partner, and you're trying to do it without having any sort of conversation at all. I think that's going to be really difficult, because you wouldn't be able to find out more about the person. You wouldn't be able to communicate how you feel about that person. Yes, you may try and enact that, but trust me, it's not going to work. If you can't actually have a conversation, relationship is not going to work. And I've heard that many times from my wife. That if we can't have a conversation, this is not going to work. So I can tell that from experience. But it's true. Joking aside, talking it really can help build relationships, can help build communities. Even with us, I mean, I've through the conversations that I've raised in the communities, I've been able to expand my horizon and the relationships with lots of different people. Why? Because I've opened myself out there. I've allowed my thoughts to be out there. People have known me better. They've known what I have to offer, and not just what I have to offer, but they've known what my contribution is in terms of me sharing my thoughts, and not just me sharing my thoughts, but them contributing to those thoughts and creating something more beautiful, greater than what it was when it was locked into my own brain or someone else's for that matter. So talking helps build that richness of a community. It really allows us to know each other better and trust each other better, and be able to forge those relationships in our communities that we couldn't have done it otherwise. So talking is really, really important for that matter. But also it's very important because it allows for different perspectives. I mean, that goes without saying. So many times have I found myself thinking of something and being so drawn into an idea, and it's so narrow-minded, and you don't realize, because it's in your mind. So you're only thinking of this thing in this one perspective, and it's really sort of caught you that way. But when you start speaking about it, and other people start contributing, and they speak of that same issue from a completely different perspective, and it really blows the whole thing out of the water. And you kind of think, blind me, I never saw it that way. Actually, it could be that way. And that itself can be so therapeutic. That itself can be so enriching in terms of what we could achieve, because it allows for ideas to grow. It allows for ideas to be nourished rather than being isolated. So sometimes you might think, my idea is not so great, but when you bring it out there and other people contribute to it, it can raise the perspective and really change what that little idea could achieve. So it allows for different perspectives, and that's really important in our communities. Third, it helps with service provision. And I remember when I was growing up, I grew up in a family of 5. I had 3 sisters and a brother where I grew up. But when we were growing up, we always thought that our parents had their preferences, like they had the children that they, like what's the word they call it, like the favorites. We thought they were favorites, and we thought our elder sister was like the favorite. And why did we think that? I mean, now looking on the hindsight, it's because for some reason, my sister had perfected the art of expressing herself. She was good at talking. What we very early on we realized that if we want to get something from our parents, we should use her. So if we want something collectively, we always sent her. We're like, right now, you're going to be talking to them. You're going to be telling them. And because she is perfect at that, she was really good at it. And as a result, she seems to get more her way, if you like. And the rest of us, because we were a bit sort of like, should I not? Is this going to work? We didn't really seem to get things our way as a result. Well, maybe the parents should have picked up on that and do better that way, but that's a conversation for another time. My point here is that sometimes when we talk, we're more likely to get support. We're more likely to get things our way. We're more likely to get our points across, and therefore have an influence in the outcomes of whatever it is we're trying to influence. But if we keep quiet, if we keep ourselves isolated in our own sectors, if we kind of think like, what difference is it going to make? Chances are it is not going to make any difference. Why? Because we haven't brought ourselves into the table and brought our points across. So talking is really important, because it can help us get more support. It can help us really raise issues that matter to us and make those statutory bodies that have the power to make a difference, to really hear what we have to say about it. So it's very important to have these conversations. And finally, it's a stress release. And I say finally, it's not because this is least important, but probably this is the most important thing about talking. When we talk, it's you know how it feels, isn't it? You've got this thing really burning inside, and you have an opportunity to just vent out, even if nothing is getting done about it. But just the fact that you brought it out there, it just brings that release. And I think this has something to do with the fact that as humans, we are social creatures. We just knowing that someone else is sharing what I'm going through itself is part of the healing process, because being social creatures, we want to be part of something greater than ourselves. And therefore, when we talk, we're actually almost like transmitting that out there. And therefore, that itself, we feel better about it, because we feel like we're not on our own. Someone else has kind of carried that torch, if you like. And therefore, it's very important. Don't keep things to yourself. Don't stress yourself too much over things that you feel like, nobody's listening, nobody's going to make a difference. Talk about it, because even just that very act of you talking about it makes a huge difference. That itself brings healing. But on top of that, obviously, people pick up on that. Support can be provided, and it makes such a huge difference. So I just wanted to put it out there that it's very important to have this conversation and to encourage each other that even in small groups that like what we have here, it does make a difference. I have seen it in the programs that I'm running, and Cecily will be a great witness to that in these programs over the last couple of years. It has made such a huge difference to individuals and to communities at large. So there you have it. Let's keep talking, guys. Back to you, Eva.
Thank you, Charles, and thank you for encouraging us to keep talking. I love the 4 points, and definitely we'll keep talking. And yeah, I've been to one of your seminars, I think a couple, and yeah, I would encourage everybody to join in. I'll be circulating the details of that. And I think it's another really powerful session of the main speaker is here and some good ones. But yeah, thank you so much for impacting your knowledge on us. I'm going to bring in Reverend Paulie to give us a greeting and a few words. Thank you.
Hi, it's lovely to be with you. I'm sorry I wasn't able to join you from the beginning and that I have to rush off again. So an introduction to myself. I'm an ordained priest, Anglican Communion, and I also work for the Diocese of Oxford, basically as their racial justice officer. I have a different title, but that's what I'm doing. And I was doing 2.5 days a week at that. They've just increased it to 4 because of the demand for my time. And it's an exciting time to be working for the Church of England. They recognise their past. They recognise the barriers for people of minority ethnic people. And so I feel really privileged to be part of the change that needs to come, especially on a local level. So yeah, I'm at work 4 days a week. Evenings, I do ministry, and Fridays all day. And on Sundays, of course, I am a priest and do that. It's been an interesting time for me because I've recognized over the last maybe 6 or 7 months that the funeral directors are sending Black funerals my way. And actually that's a privilege because I've been doing funerals now for nearly 2 years. And what they've said to me is that often the families ask, have you got any Black priests that can do this? You know, someone that's like me, someone from the same culture. And of course, there aren't many of us, and there aren't many Black women locally that are ordained priests. So it's a pleasure to be able to do that. And I take time off work to do it if I need to, because it's important. It's important to me, but more than that, it's important to these families that they feel that the person that's sending their family member home understands their background and their culture and where they're coming from. So that's a real privilege. One of the things that's bothered me since I was ordained, and even before that, is that there are a lot of churches that are sitting around empty all week, all day, and then they're open on a Sunday morning and possibly a Sunday evening. So in the church that I'm placed, for my curacy, I've opened the church on a Friday during the day for people who literally just want to come chat, have a cup of tea or coffee or herbal drink, and just have company or just feel like they belong. We're a city of sanctuary, Reading is, which means that we welcome asylum seekers and refugees from all over the world. There's not that many cities of sanctuaries, but we're one of them, and I think we need to do more to engage those communities. And the hotel down the bottom of the road from us, our parish, apparently has 100 refugees in it. So I need to go and pay them a visit, because it would be great for them to come into the church, not as a church, but as a place where they can get some support. So I'm running a project called HEED, H-E-E-D, which stands for Hear, Embrace, Enable, and Delight. And that's the plan, to listen to people, to give them some skills and confidence, and just get them back out on the road and delight in their achievements and their skills and all of those things. So HEED at the moment is open from 12 till 4 on a Friday, although it will be opening from 10 till 4. What I would like to do within it is train some volunteers on specific helper models, on managing challenging behavior, communication skills, those kind of things, active listening. And I can do that myself. I'm a qualified trainer. I deliver training for lots of companies and things. So to do some training, to equip people to support other people, and then just provide a safe space for people to be. So we opened just before Christmas, and then I got COVID. So we've reopened again. And I've had some really interesting talks with the Citizens Advice Bureau, who would really like to come in at least once a month and provide advice support. And also Graft Thames Valley, who are funded to support people who are disadvantaged in getting employment, to get them into work. So whether it's because of disability or because of, for whatever reason, if they're disadvantaged, then they will come along and do some work stuff, work readiness stuff, link them to employers, that kind of thing. But there are other people now calling me saying, really like to get involved with HEED. So I'm hoping that it will be a buzzing place. We've got an artist who wants to run some art sessions. And all of these things will be free for those people who come along. So what I want is for people to tell people that I'm there. Eventually there'll be other volunteers there as well. And for people to come along. Once I've done my food hygiene certificate, which has now run out, we'll also provide light lunch or snacks, but we can't do that until we've got the certificate. When we had the fire in Road Court, because it's in our parish, the church was open all day, every day. People came along, and the Catholic church up the road sent us volunteers who had food hygiene certificates, which was wonderful. So they were able to provide food for the victims of the fire and for the emergency services. And the church was buzzing, and I was in Barbados with COVID, so I wasn't very happy about that. But what I would like is for St. George's Church and Centre to be a place where people feel welcomed, regardless of their faith and spirituality, and where they can just come and talk and be welcomed. And that's my plan. So do come along if you want to come along and see, and send anybody along that you think just needs to talk. I think it would be really good as well for families who are bereaved or coping with COVID and things like that, that just want to offload. I think as people of faith, we need to be there for people in a way that they feel they can come and engage with us. And that's what my aim is really, is to welcome people from whatever groups they're from, and give them a shoulder to cry on, but also signpost them to places that can help them. I think, has anybody got any questions? No?
No.
Cool. If you're interested in
the chat, where you meet or where are you based?
Yes, so St. George's Church is, St. George's Road is just off the Oxford Road before you get to Norcott Road. If you know that the hotel on the Oxford Road next door to the Pond House, the road opposite that is St. George's Road, and that's where we are. So it's along the Oxford Road. There's several buses that come along there, so it's on a good route. We do have some parking, limited parking in the church as well. So, and like I said, you know, we're not restricted to Christian faith or anything like that. We just want people to feel welcome and to support them as best we can. In terms of my employment, if anybody's interested in faith in the Church of England, which has quite a history, there are some on the Oxford Diocese website. I've done some interviews about it, so you can actually go on the website and hear some of those interviews that I've done. And I'm doing a lot of work on Lament to Action, which is the church's report on their failures and what they believe needs to be done, some of which I don't agree with, but some of which I do. So if anybody wants me to come and talk at any time to any groups that they're in about my work, which is quite interesting. I'm doing quite a lot of stuff around race equality and Lament to Action. I think people are interested in that kind of stuff, and, you know, what are we doing about these things? How are we changing or trying to change? How are we meeting the needs of minority ethnic communities? I'm happy to pop along and talk to any groups. It's part of my work, so there's no charge. I just need to put it into my program. So if anybody wants me to come along and do a talk, I'm more than happy to do that.
Thank you very much, Reverend.
You're very welcome. It's lovely to see you all.
Yeah, thank you for the good work you're doing and sharing it with us, and definitely we'll try and signpost people as well to what the good work that you're doing. So we'll do that through our social medias and as well as our newsletter and what we're doing.
Fantastic.
Yeah, thank
Brilliant.
you.
Thank you so much. And I'm really sorry I have to leave you because I'm actually working. I just popped out on my lunch break to come and join you.
Thank you. Thank you. And do have a good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us.
God bless. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. And just to add on to also here at the Oxford Community Hub, we're going to be having a place where people can come in and have tea and coffee on a Tuesday as well, and just have a chat. So 11:30 to 1, and we're going to try and do this every Tuesday. And it's open to everybody. Just come in, have a chat, bring your mask, try and have some available. But just as people are getting out of isolation and try to get in the community, we need to try and help them. So we will try and also link up the two events with yours, Reverend Paulie. Thank you for that. So as we conclude, unless somebody wants to say anything else, I'm going to welcome James to do our take home for today, as he says, and then I'm sure we should be able to wrap up the meeting in a few minutes. Welcome, James.
Thank you, Eva. Thank you, everybody. And it's been really fantastic. And just as always, thank you for your insight around talking. And before I actually go into anything, my name is James Momo. I'm Israeli by birth. and origin, and I've been in Reading for quite some time now. And I want to just give you one of our slogans that we use to help us with resilience. There's a language which is a lingua franca in my country, Sierra Leone, indeed in most West African countries, called Creole. So when you greet anybody in my country and say, how are you? The common answer you will get is Adifodon e grab. Basically meaning I'm facing a lot of challenges, but I don't allow myself to stay down. So I fall down and get up. That's the literal meaning. So Adifodon and grab. And that is an injection for everybody in the morning. You know, when you wake up in the morning, somebody say, hello, James, how are you? Adifodon and grab. That is like a push for me to go through the day, a push for me through my challenges, a push for me through all the things I'm going to encounter. If I have conflict with somebody, that will help me to put my defense in one place, you know, so that's really quite important. I just want to share that with you. And when Charles was talking about, indeed, even if I was talking about talking, I think, let me just give you names of some people we idolize in the show business. One is Oprah Winfrey. If not for her talking about her anxiety, nobody would have known it. So talking is really quite key. It's really important. It can actually empower other people as well. I think Charles mentioned that, and so many other people have mentioned that by talking, you connect, you engage, you enable, you approach, you actually are able to enter into the world mind of somebody else. Another person really that spoke about another issue really is J.K. Rowling, and spoke about depression. Again, without talking, nobody would have had, nobody would have known that. So talking can be extremely enriching. And David Beckham, I mean, we all know David Beckham, and he spoke about OCD and also how he managed to deal with it. And Emma Thompson also spoke about depression, and Adele, you know, also spoke about anxiety. So these are a process of talking. By talking, you get to offload, if you like, but also embrace the change you need. And that will take me to something I've been reading, and I came across this saying that if you want to change your circumstances, you have to do so through choosing your story. And as we emerge from this pandemic, it's important for us to begin to choose our stories individually, but also how do we connect those stories with other stories as well? Because the pandemic has been something that affected all of us. So it's not just about me or you or Karim or anybody, it's really about everybody. So it's really important for us to bear that in mind. And there's also another element to that, that there are certain stories that will keep you back. So let's really bear in mind, there are certain stories that will hold you back because you've not been able to let go. And there are also stories that will propel you further, they will push you forward. It's important to have these stories identified and understood. And they are your stories. So it's really important for us to bear that in mind as well. And as we go ahead, I would like us to look at a few questions. What aspect of your story is actually holding you back? As we emerge from this pandemic, as we rise up, feeling okay, even though we've had experiences of COVID directly or indirectly, what aspect of your story are you allowing to hold you back? It's really important. That's something I would like you to work on in your own spare time. And also, how do you relate to somebody else's story? How somebody else's story has helped you? Because we're talking about community work, working together, seeking help, reaching out to people, family members, friends, pastor, church, priest, whoever you reach out to. How much of their story is affecting you positively? And if their story is not affecting you positively, why do you hold on to that story? So this is something we need to think about. I think one of the previous speakers spoke about, I did try to seek help from family, but it wasn't helpful. And I like that. She changed. She said, well, there are other avenues. You know, let me look at professional support, because sometimes we normally think as a people that there's only one way of seeking help, but there are so many other ways we can seek help. There's a church, there's professionals, there are family members, there are friends, even ourselves. And sometimes we forget the resilience we have. And when I go back to that statement at the Fordone Grab, when we confront or when we are faced with problems, we learn from it. And when Eva said this guy took how many times, 99 attempts to make an electric bulb, the last day he said, well, I've learned. So it's really important to see what character do you build after every challenge, after every calamity, every difficulty, what character have you built? So sometimes we forget to build a character because we focus on the negativity all the time. So it's really important. That's something we might be able to take home with us today. And as we go further, I also want to look at 4 good elements of how we think most of the time. It's not just about us, Afro-Caribbean. This is everybody. There is one we call discounting the positive. We are very quick at criticizing ourselves or the situation rather than looking at the opportunities in it. And I feel last week, I did give us a homework. I said, what is the positive role that worry can play in your life? I thought maybe people probably thought about that for last week. But what I'm saying here is some of the thinking errors is discounting the positive. We forget that every problem has got something in it that we can learn from. And the other element is the excessive rules that we have to put, that perfect standard. I want things to be perfect before I can actually manage it. I need a perfect solution to this problem. You know, and we waste a lot of time looking for that perfect solution or that perfect idea. So it's really important. And like we've been saying, every little element of your conversation or whatever you talk about can add up to making that solution good enough. So don't wait until something is perfect before you can deal with it. And when we bring that to our own health, don't wait until things go out of control. If your pastor is not dealing with it effectively, there are other chances somewhere, somehow you can actually seek to get. So don't wait until things become too big for you to handle. So that's where we need to abandon that excessive focus on rules. It has to be like this until everything is settled. I'm not going to walk out and I'm going to seek help. So it's really important. And there's also the third element is the black and white thinking. You know, we're either this or that. If it's not that, then this is this. They're either against me or they are for me. And that can also keep us back. That cannot help with resilience. If we were to focus on what we'll be doing all this time, maybe people might say, well, it's just a Zoom, it's digital, it's online, it's not going to help me. But it has. In addition to all other things that you do, this Zoom meeting has also been an effective space for that ambience Yvonne was talking about, that state of peace, that state of equilibrium. This is a place where you come and you feel, yes, I belong here. You know, they call me by my first name. They know me. You know, they know where I live. They accept me. They embrace me. They like me. And they value me. They recognize me. The list we go on and on and on. So it's really important for us to bear that in mind. That's the element I'm really trying to push forward. And the last of the thinking error I want to share with you will be jump into conclusion. Before you really make that judgment, try to understand what are the evidence on both sides. What is the pros and cons? What have you checked with the advantages and disadvantages? But even if there are disadvantages, what does that mean to you? How can you transform that into an advantage? So it's really about trying to explore you as a person before actually making that conclusion that, yes, this is it. And that's where you understand who you are. And that's where self-awareness can actually come into play. And that's where you begin to understand the way you relate to stuff and do things. And that's where you begin to really understand your strengths and your limitations. So it's really important to bear that in mind. So as we go on, finally, I'll be trying to look at how we go forward with this. So for me, as a CBT therapist, working with talking therapy, I think 2 years ago, even last year, I think we're able to receive about 20,000 referrals, for stress, depression, anxiety, you name it. So there is an opportunity out there, and talking therapy is not the only service we have, but because I'm a member of that service, it's important for me as a community champion sitting with you here, for me to begin to share that with you so that you know that there's a service that exists that can work with you to redevelop your resilience. Because to have resilience, you need that inner and strength, but you also need an external factor to help you as well. And information like this can be very empowering. And a talking process like this can also be quite helpful, because that's the attraction we have for this Zoom meeting, because we talk openly, we allow people to relate to the pool, we talk about the topic, we have people who we come and share their own intelligence, like Charles and Pastor and Reverend Paulie and all of those things. So it's really important for us to look at some of these things. What I would like us to look at now is range or scope, and then scoop. When I mean range, I want all of us to look at us and see what is our range when it comes to seeking help. What range do we go to seek help? Do we just attempt once and then, oh, can't be bothered, nobody's going to help me because they've always done the other way around? Because I'm this, maybe nobody's going to listen to me. But what is your range? How far do you go? Are you just going to stop there, or do you want to go further? So it's really important to understand your range of seeking help, your range of doing anything, your range of helping yourself or listening to other people, or seeking help from family, friends, your pastor, or how far do you go with your religion, or how far do you step out of that comfort zone and reach out to professionals? And the second thing is scoop, which is SCOOP. When we want to eat ice cream, we scoop it. So how much time do you give to scooping information around you, or to people talking to you about certain things, or you talking to people about certain things, about your health, for example, or about any stress in your life? So we need to understand the scooping element in us. Sometimes we are very hesitant to seek the information we need. Oh, maybe it doesn't bother me. It's not relevant to me. Or how do you know that it's not relevant to you? So it's really your scoping strategy or technique or staying of power we help you. So that scoping element is really important for us. So I really want to leave you with some of this thinking to really talk about my eyes. So, and finally, we all do have what we call safety behaviors. When I say safety behavior from a CBT perspective, it's actually those behaviors that we try to adopt. We think they are protecting us. For example, if I have conflict with somebody, a friend, my safety behavior might be avoid that friend the next time because I don't want another palaver. So that safety behavior becomes your problem because you're going to miss on certain things. It's your friend. You can resolve the conflict. But if you avoid, that conflict is going to go on and on and on. And you're not going to switch off that conflict. Remember, that conflict in the long run will begin to affect the way you eat, the way you sleep, the way you live your life. It can affect your resilience. So name it, you name it. I mean, if you want to try this, try and recall an episode or any event, whether it was sad news or whatever, and how you related to it. Did you avoid talking about it? Did you avoid the whole thing? Or did you really kind of challenge it? Did you confront it? did you go back and say, look, this is not working. Let's talk about this. So this is what I'm saying. So our safety behavior might be good in the beginning, but with time they begin to fail us. And then that will then begin to make us go into deeper stress or depression. So it's really important to identify your own safety behaviors. So as we come to the end now, I would like everybody, if you want to spend some time during this week before next week and begin to understand what your own safety behaviors are when you have a problem. What do? Do you employ your safety behaviors? Because they are good sometimes. They kind of our comfort zone, isn't it? They don't really cause any problem because we avoid. I don't go to Tesco because I don't want to see somebody who is annoying me. I don't want to take that route because there's somebody who is annoying me. But really, that safety behavior can end up causing you a lot of problems. So finally, I would like us to use that as a homework, as we always do in CBT. So, but let's remember that when we all experience stress, and we can all do so, there's nobody that is exempt from that. But when we do so, we all also learn how to manage our own feelings individually. And we also need to understand that feelings or emotions are transient. They don't last long. You wake up in a grumpy mood, maybe lunchtime, after lunch, or a few bites of chocolate, you begin to smile a little bit. So that's how emotion is very dynamic. It's not just going to be with you for the whole day. And it will come, it will pass. So, and if I don't and grab. So please, let's remember that. Next time, when you have any issues, remember, I go fall down and grab. I will fall down, but I will not stay down. So on that note, I would like to say thank you all and have a lovely week. Bye-bye.